Hello creative mind, let me show you how to sew this simple A-line dress you are seeing on your screen. So I'll be working with this Ankara and the net. It's a leftover from a ball dress I made for a kid. So we are going to be mixing together for this class. So now I want you to go ahead, take all your measurement, the back, the gown length, the waist, bust, hip, your sleeve length, and all the necessary measurement. Now, of all the horizontal measurement, which is your bust, your waist, and your hip, we are going to be using the widest to place our fabric on fold. Now for me, the widest one I'm working with is the hip, which is 48 inches. So I'll go ahead and divide the 48 inches into two, which I'm going to have 24. Then I'll go ahead and add 11 inches to that 24, which is going to make it 35. So I'll be using the 35 inches to place my fabric on fold. So I want you to go ahead, place your fabric on fold using 35 inches. Make sure that every point is well aligned and use your tape rule to confirm if it is truly 35 inches. So it is very necessary. Whatever, even if yours is not up to my measurement, just make sure you add 11 inches regardless of the measurement. So now once I'm done aligning, now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead. If the Ankara is not straight, you want to go ahead and blend it so that you have a very straight Ankara. It happens at times. Just make sure you have a very straight Ankara. So now once that is done, the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and measure 1 inch, which is going to be our zip allowance. So measure it all the way. And once you measure it all the way, you want to go ahead and connect it on a straight line. Now once that is done, I'm going to bring the other edge of my Ankara over, making sure that it is directly on the line. It must not pass through that line. It must not pass through the line. Now once that is done, the next thing you want to do is to go ahead and measure, arrange it, make sure it is flat. Then we want to go ahead, I'm going to create a straight line here so that it will help me. I'll be using it as my top line. Now just go ahead, create a straight line here, which is going to serve as our top line. It means I'm starting all my measurement from that point. Okay, now once that is done, we are going to start with our measurement. The first measurement I'll be using is the back measurement. My back measurement is 16, and when I divide 16 by 2, I'll be having 8 inches. So that 8 inches, I'll be adding half into it, which is 8.5. I'll measure it. Now to get my bust line, my bust circumference is 45. I'll divide it by 6, then add 1.5 to it. I have 9 inches. But because I'm sewing a shift dress, the style is meant to be free. So I'll simply go ahead and add half. You can add between the range of half to 1 inch to it. It depends on how much ease you want it to have. So I measure the 9.5, connect it on a straight line like that. Now on that straight line, whatever you have on your top line, mine is 8.5. I'm going to measure the same 8.5 there, connect it as on a straight line. The straight line will be serving as a guideline to help us in shaping our armhole. Then you come down by 1 inch on that straight line. That's the shoulder point. Come to the CF, measure 3 inches. Note that I'm not measuring from the zip allowance, okay? Then you connect your NP to your SP. Now let's go ahead and work with our bust measurement. My bust measurement is 45 divided by 4, that's 11 1/4. I'm going to add 2 inches as my seam allowance. Now out of the 2 inches, 1.5 will be serving as is, the other half is our sewing allowance. Okay, now once that is done, we want to go ahead and measure our half length. It helps us to know where to place our waist measurement. Mark the point. Now once that is done, go ahead, use your waist measurement. My waist measurement is 40 divided by 4. We have 10 plus 2. So I'll add the 2. That's also my sewing allowance. Okay, then from that point you come down by 8 inches. That's the hip level now. So my hip circumference is 48. I'm going to go ahead, divide it by 4. I have 12 then plus 2, which is 14. So I'm going to just go ahead, mark the plus 2, and that's it. Now remember I said we are making an A-line or A-line short gown, an A-line one. So now the next thing we are going to do is to get the M-line. My gown length is 40 plus 2, that's 42. So I've connected it, you can see the straight line. So I'm coming back to the hip line to calculate all I have together, which is actually 14 inches. Now, the 14 inches, I'll simply go ahead and add 3 inches to it so that it give me that A shape on the M line, which makes it 17. So it's 17. So it means I'll be measuring 17 inches on my M line. And once that is done, I'll go ahead, pick up my ruler and connect all the lines, okay? So you make sure that you give it that A-line shape, okay? Just connect from your waist to the hip to the M. If it can connect it at once, go ahead and connect it all the way at once. And if it is not, you can go ahead, do it one after the other from the hip to the hem and from the waist to the hip, okay? Now, once we are done, you can see what I have there. We are going to go ahead, connect from the bust to the hip now, I mean to the waist now. So you go ahead, connect it like that. If you want, when you do so, always blend your part your lines, okay? Now, once you do that, if you like, if you want more ease around the waist area, you can connect from the bust all the way to the M. It depends on what you want, okay? But because I want mine to be a little bit fitted around the bust to the waistline, so that's why I'm just focusing from the waist to the hem. So that's just that for that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to shape the armhole. To do that, remember we use 9.5. We go ahead and divide it by 2, which you are going to have for 3/4. From that point coming by half, mark the point. From the point where the two lines meet, come out by 1 inch. Then you go ahead. From the other points where we get the midpoint, you come in by half, okay? So you go ahead and shape it. So that's the armhole for the front, okay? That's the front armhole that we just shape. Now for the back armhole, we are simply going to follow the straight line from that curve to the straight line, okay? And that's it. Now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and shape our neck. For the front neck, we are going to be working with 4 by 4 inches. That is neck width of 4 by neck depth of 4 inches. You go ahead, you can use your cover, you can use your freehand to shape the neckline. Now, once that is done, the next thing is to go ahead shape the back neckline. You are working with the same 4 inches. That's the neck width of 4, but now a neck depth of 1.5, and that's it. So the hem, you want to come up by ½ inch and shape the hem. Remember, we are working with A-line dress, so we don't want the hem of the A-line to come out being pointy. So you just come up by ½ inch and you shape it. And once you are done, go ahead and cut. That's what we are going to do. You want to cut everything. Firstly, I will advise you cut everything that has to do with the back so that you can separate it later. You can see I'm cutting the back neckline here, not the one I shaped for the front. Later, I'll come back to the front, okay? You cut the back armhole as well, not the one I shaped for the front. We come back to that later, okay? So now you go ahead, cut the markings. You know, front and back is the same thing, so we have no issue there. So just go ahead, cut, and that's it. So the last thing you want to go ahead and do is now separate. Once you are done with the hem, okay, I'll be back here to cut out the shoulder. And once I'm done, I'll just go ahead, separate the front from the back so that I can cut the back neck, I mean the front neck. Now the next thing we are going to move ahead to is to shape the sleeve. Go ahead, place your fabric on fold. I use the total length of my Ankara. Remember, Ankara is 45 to 47 inches at times. So I place it on fold. Now I'm working with sleeve length of 10 inches, 10 to 10. You can use 10 to 12. Just make sure that the first sleeve should not get to the elbow point, okay? So you go ahead, create your top line so that you have a balanced line to work with. Now remember, for the armpit, to get the bust line, I use 9.5. I'm adding 1 to it, which means I'll be using 10.5 here. So I mark it to that point. I'm not marking it to the hem of the sleeve. So at that point, I'm just going to mark 4 inches and mark the point. Just the same way we shape our basic sleeve, get the midpoint. From the midpoint of that 10.5, come back down by 1.5. Again, get the midpoint of what you have there and just go ahead and shape everything together, and that's that. Now, remember that point, it was 10.5. I'm just going to bring it out back. The fabric I have on fold here is 11.5, so it means the hem of my sleeve is 1 inch wider than what I have at the underarm point. So just to give it that A-line shape, since we are working with an A-line sleeve, okay? So you want to go ahead, cut everything. Now I'm going to open it so that you can see how it looks like at the hem of the sleeve. You can see that the hem is wider compared to what we have at the underarm point. Now the last thing you are going to cut are the strip of fabric which we are going to add to the hem of the sleeve, just like what you see in the pictures, in the picture rather. So you want to go ahead, cut your Ankara. We are going to be placing it on fold. Cut Ankara with 6.5 with length 30. Ankara with 6.5 with length 30. Then your net is going to be with 3.5 by length 30. The same length but different width. That's because we are placing Ankara on fold and we are not placing net on fold. So you go ahead, place everything on fold, notch the midpoint so that it help you in joining everything accurately. So just go ahead, place it on fold, notch all the midpoint. Cut 6 pieces of the Ankara and 6 pieces of the net as well. So once you place it on fold, the Ankara, which is the main sleeve first, we go ahead, we join the net to it. You go ahead, you join, just make sure it is 3 strip of the net and 3 strip of the Ankara that you join together. So that's it. By the time you join yours, it's going to be longer than each other. The tip won't be the same thing like here. So by the time you are through, you can see what I have here, that there is excess because the width of the strip is 30 and not 11.5 like the sleeve. So you can see the Ankara net, Ankara net, Ankara net, and Ankara, which is the last one. So once that is done, here we just want to shape it out. So what we are doing is arranging everything so that everything is balanced. Okay, now once that is done, we are going to just make sure it is well aligned, very well. You come to the M, measure 14 inches. We are using 14 inches for the wideness of the hem of the sleeve. Once you mark the point, connect it to the edge of the first basic sleeve we cut. You can see what I did here. I'm not connecting it to the underarm point. Now once that is done, you just go ahead and cut it out. You will see that it is giving us that a shape effect. So that's it. Just go ahead and cut it out. You can see what we have here. So that's it for the sleeve. So now you do the same thing too for the other sleeve. Go ahead, do the same thing for the other sleeve. Give it a nice press so that we don't see your sewing allowance. Then you go ahead, seal your CB, fixing your zip. So from the neckline for the back, I'm just going to come down by 8 inches, mark the point. It means I'll close the others and fix my zip within that point, okay? Now, once that is done, I join the shoulder. I use the bias to close my neckline, and this